How many times have I said to myself, who am I talking to? That relentless voice in your head, the worries, the plans, the endless inner monologue feels so personal, so you. But what if it's all an illusion? Picture this, you're meditating or just sitting quietly and your thoughts dissolve into silence. Yet something lingers, a sense of I. So what is this I? Is it the real you or just a mirage conjured by your mind? The mind is a masterful architect, weaving a self-image from memories, beliefs, and habits, like a puppeteer pulling strings to craft an intimate inner monologue. But here's the question that changes everything. Who is the mind talking to? At first glance, the answer seems obvious. It's talking to you, right? But look closer and something astonishing emerges. There's no one behind the curtain. It's just thoughts talking to thoughts. A self-referential loop fueling your anxieties, doubts, and identity. In this video, we'll dive into this shocking paradox, exposing the illusion of the I you've clung to for years. This isn't heavy philosophy. It's a simple, clear truth that might make you laugh when it clicks. Are you ready to challenge the story in your head, see through the mind's tricks, and discover the freedom waiting beyond? You have lived your entire life with a deep, almost unquestionable sense of me, an identity that feels familiar, constant, unshakable. A thread that runs through every memory, every experience, every thought you've ever had. When you say I, it feels like it points to something solid, an inner core that defines who you are. But have you ever stopped to really examine what this me actually is? Most people never do. And it's not because they don't care or don't think deeply. It's because this sense of self is so intimate, so close, that we don't even think to question it. It's like trying to see your own eyes without a mirror. The mind generates a constant stream of thoughts. And from that stream, it weaves a narrative, a story of self. It tells you who you are, what you want, what you fear, what you have been through. And yet, when you look closely at that story, you start to notice something odd. It keeps changing. What you think of as yourself today, your opinions, your preferences, your values, are likely different from what they were 5 or 10 years ago. Maybe even last month. Your memories change, your emotions change, your roles in life evolve. So if all of these things are shifting, what is the constant? What is the solid ground underneath all the movement? That question leads to a deeper discovery. Beneath all the noise, there is something else. There is an awareness, a presence, something that observes the thoughts, the emotions, the memories, the stories, but is not itself a thought, emotion, or story. This awareness is still. It does not argue, it does not change. It simply sees. This silent observer is not concerned with the drama of the mind. It watches your mind build identities, dismantle them, build new ones. It watches you win and lose, love and grieve, grow and fall apart. And yet it never flinches. It is not afraid. It does not cling to any version of you. It just is. Which raises a powerful question. If you can observe your thoughts, how could you be your thoughts? If you are aware of your emotions, how could you be them? Carl Jung spoke of this in his work on individuation. He described individuation as the process of integrating all aspects of the psyche, the conscious and unconscious, the known and the hidden, the light and the shadow, to arrive at a self that is whole and authentic. But here's the hard truth. Most people never reach this place. Most people stay stuck in what Jung would call the persona, the mask. They live inside a version of themselves that was built to please, to fit in, to survive. A version shaped by societal rules, parental expectations, trauma responses, and unchecked fears. This false self, this social identity, serves a purpose. It helps you function in the world. It gives you language, direction, a sense of order. But if you mistake it for your true self, you'll spend your life chasing things that don't fulfill you, reacting to patterns you don't understand, and feeling like something vital is missing. Because something is missing. You, the real you. The you that exists beyond all the layers, all the programming, all the noise. Here's where the illusion gets slippery. The I you refer to in your head feels so personal. You say things like, I'm anxious, or I need to do better, or I'm not good enough. But pause. Who is saying this? Who is the I that is talking and who is listening? The mind creates both voices, the voice that judges and the voice that reacts. It sets the trap and then walks into it. The mind isn't evil or broken, it's just doing what it was conditioned to do. It's a survival tool. It constructs identities to help you navigate the world. But what happens when those identities no longer serve you? What happens when you outgrow the roles, the masks, the stories? The reality is that the self, the I, is not a thing. It's not an object you can find or point to. It's a process, a fluid, ever-changing construction made of thoughts, ideas, labels, and perceptions. One day you're the confident professional. The next day you're the anxious partner. The next, the lost child. The mind flips between identities like channels on a TV, always presenting something, never letting the screen go blank. But there's something behind the screen, something that never changes. That something is awareness, pure, silent, unshaped awareness. It doesn't belong to the story. It watches the story. And the moment you stop identifying with the characters the mind creates and recognize yourself as the awareness that watches them all, a profound shift begins. You begin to feel less reactive, less trapped by the constant mental commentary. You start to see that the me you've been defending, proving, and protecting is just a thought, just a role, just a voice. And it's not you. At first, this realization can feel destabilizing. If I'm not my thoughts, not my roles, not my history, then what am I? But sit with that question. Let it open you, because on the other side of that discomfort is freedom. Freedom from the endless need to prove yourself. Freedom from the fear of not being enough. Freedom from the pressure to maintain an identity that no longer fits. And here's where things get interesting. When you recognize that the me is just a construct, the next question naturally arises. If I'm not the mind, then who is the mind talking to? Think about that. Really sit with it. The mind talks. It plans, worries, judges, remembers. It keeps a running commentary going day and night. But who is it talking to? It seems like it's talking to you, right? But if you really look, you'll see that the voice is speaking into empty space. Thought responding to thought. The speaker and the listener are one and the same. There's no one else in the room. That's the great illusion. The loop, the trick that keeps the whole game of identity spinning. And once you see it, even for a moment, something incredible happens. You laugh. You laugh not because it's a joke, but because it's so simple, so obvious, and yet we miss it for decades. You are not the voice in your head. You are the space in which that voice arises. You are the awareness that watches it all unfold. And when you live from that space, when you stop trying to fix the me and instead rest in the awareness that sees through it, everything changes. You stop chasing. You stop clinging. You stop performing. You start being. And from that place, life doesn't just get quieter. It gets clearer, fuller, realer. The illusion of I begins to fade. And in its place, something deeper is revealed. Something more honest. Something free. And that is where the real journey begins. You might believe that your thoughts belong to you, that they form a coherent dialogue, a meaningful internal conversation between different parts of yourself. It feels familiar. It feels intimate. We all experience that running monologue in our minds, a voice that analyzes, criticizes, plans, remembers, dreams. It argues with itself, offers advice, replays old conversations, and imagines future ones. This mental chatter feels like it's happening within us and for us, as if there is a real you listening to it, engaging with it, making sense of it all. But pause. Take one step back. What if that entire internal conversation isn't what it seems? If thoughts arise on their own, spontaneously, without permission, and if the responses to those thoughts appear just as spontaneously, then who exactly is talking to whom? Who's the speaker? Who's the listener? And most importantly, where is this you that supposedly exists between them? The mind is clever. It creates a voice, and then it creates another voice to respond. It sets up an inner dialogue, a psychological puppet show. One thought appears, I need to try harder. Then another, but I've already tried so many times. Back and forth they go, like characters in a drama written, directed, and performed by the mind itself. This loop feels personal. It feels like it's you working through your life, your choices, your doubts. But is that really what's happening? When you slow down, when you sit in silence and just observe, truly observe, you'll begin to notice something strange. These thoughts are arising and dissolving within a space. They appear, unfold, and vanish. But who is hearing them? Where is the listener? Look closely and you won't find one. You'll find more thoughts, more commentary, but no solid independent entity behind them. That's because the mind isn't really talking to you. It's talking to itself. This is one of the most subtle and persistent illusions of being human. The mind tricks you into believing there's a separate you involved in this conversation. But there isn't. There's no one sitting in a control room receiving this internal report. It's just thought responding to thought in an endless echo chamber. One of the most powerful and deceptive pieces in this illusion is the I thought. It shows up like a narrator in a movie. I feel tired. I need to be better. I'm not enough. This I becomes the anchor around which all mental activity revolves. But stop for a moment and ask, what is this I? Is it real? Is it constant? Or is it just another thought, just one more mental formation like, I like pizza or the sky is blue? The mind's greatest trick is to convince you that this label, I, is you, that this word, this recurring thought, represents a real stable entity. But investigate it closely and it evaporates like fog under sunlight. Try to pin it down and it slips through your fingers. One moment it's the I who's angry. The next it's the I who's ashamed. Then it's the I who's hopeful, scared, confident, doubting. Which one is you? How can all of them be? You begin to realize that what you've always assumed was you is just a voice, wearing 100 masks. This is where self-inquiry becomes not just a practice, but a revolution. Ask yourself, who is listening to the mind? Sit with that question, not as a puzzle to solve intellectually, but as a doorway to walk through experientially. What follows is often a profound silence, not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of presence. There is no listener there. There is only awareness. That's the key insight. There is no separate self watching the mind. There is only awareness, spacious, neutral, ever-present. The mind may resist this realization. It may come back with more thoughts. This is confusing, or maybe I'm not doing this right. That's the trap. The mind will use any tactic to pull you back into identification. It will even question the process of questioning itself. But that too is just more thought. And when you see it clearly for what it is, when you recognize that the voice in your head is speaking to no one, something shifts deeply. You no longer feel compelled to chase every thought, to argue with it, to make it right or wrong. You see it as what it is, mental noise echoing in a hall of mirrors. You no longer feel trapped in the endless stream of opinions, memories, judgments, plans. You recognize that these thoughts arise and disappear within awareness. But they are not you. They don't belong to a separate, enduring me. This recognition is not just philosophical, it's transformative. Once you see through the illusion, life begins to open up in a new way. You experience space between you and your mind. The same thoughts may still come, but they lose their grip. They become background noise, not commands, suggestions, not identities. And in that space, freedom is born. It's like watching a movie and realizing you're not the character, you're the screen. Everything appears on it: joy, grief, anger, fear, ambition, love. But the screen itself remains untouched. You are not what appears. You are what watches it all appear. But here's the interesting part. This illusion, the mind talking to itself, doesn't go away just because you see it. It may still arise, but your relationship to it changes. You no longer believe in it. You no longer feel the need to participate in every inner debate. You can simply observe. And in that observation, you reclaim an inner stillness that has always been there, waiting behind the noise. The problem has never been the presence of thought. The problem has been the misidentification with thought. Believing that each mental movement defines who you are. Believing that the internal dialogue is proof of a real self somewhere inside. But once you realize that the entire conversation is generated, maintained, and consumed by the mind itself, you become free, not by changing your thoughts, but by no longer confusing them for reality. And then a deeper question begins to emerge. If I am not my thoughts, if I am not the mind, then what remains when all thought disappears? That question isn't meant to be answered with more thought. It's meant to point you back to direct experience. What remains when thought disappears is something so simple, so quiet, that the mind can't grasp it. Pure awareness, the unchanging promise in which all of life unfolds and shows. And from that place, you don't need to fix the voice in your head. You don't need to silence it. You just don't need to believe it anymore. You've seen through the trick, and once you see it, you can never unsee it. You may have noticed, in moments of stillness or reflection, that your thoughts are not as solid or stable as they often seem. They're like clouds, drifting, changing, appearing suddenly and fading just as quickly. Some are light and wispy, others are dark and stormy. But all of them have one thing in common: they pass. No matter how compelling, intense, or persistent a thought may feel, it eventually gives way to another, and then another, and another. Thought is movement. It's always shifting, always in motion. Yet beneath all that movement, something remains still, something constant, something untouched by the parade of mental noise. That something is awareness. Awareness is the quiet backdrop of your entire life. It doesn't come and go. It doesn't change with your moods. It's not altered by success or failure, joy or despair. Unlike your thoughts, which can be contradictory, chaotic, and compulsive, awareness is simple, pure, ever-present. It is the silent witness of every experience you've ever had. And yet, most people go their whole lives without ever truly recognizing it. Why? Because we've been trained from a young age to fixate on content, on the thoughts themselves, not the space in which they arise. We believe we are our thoughts, our opinions, our identities, our personal narratives. But what happens when we stop chasing the thoughts and start noticing the space between them? What happens when we shift our attention from the mental commentary to the one who's hearing it? That's the key shift, from identification to observation, from being lost in thought to being present with awareness. When this shift happens, even briefly, a deep sense of spaciousness opens up. You begin to see that you are not the contents of your mind. You are the context in which those contents arise and fall. Thoughts are not who you are. They are phenomena that appear to you. This isn't about stopping your thoughts. The mind is never meant to be silenced completely. It's a tool. It's useful, even brilliant, when used with clarity. But most people don't use the mind. They are used by it, caught in loops, stories, self-judgments, projections. The practice, then, is not suppression. It's observation. The recognition that you can simply watch a thought without believing it, without clinging to it, without making it your identity. Imagine standing on the shore of a vast ocean. The waves rise and crash at your feet. Some are gentle, others violent. But you are not the wave. You are the shore. You are the presence that remains regardless of what the ocean does. This is what it means to recognize awareness, not as a belief, but as a lived, felt experience. And the more often you return to this perspective, the more your relationship with your mind begins to change. The inner storms that used to overwhelm you begin to lose their power. The highs and lows stop feeling like life and death dramas. Because you've stopped being the character in the story, and you've started realizing you're the screen on which the story is being projected. The drama still plays out, but now you can watch it with clarity, with peace, with a sense of grounded presence. One of the most profound discoveries along this path is the realization that the I you've always believed yourself to be, the thinker, the doer, the one trying to get somewhere, is largely a construction. The ego is not a stable entity. It is a bundle of thoughts, memories, identifications, and reactions. It is always in motion, always adapting, always reinventing itself. But without awareness to witness it, it becomes the unquestioned ruler of your inner world. This is why spiritual traditions across time have emphasized the importance of knowing yourself. But true self-knowledge isn't about accumulating information or defining your personality more clearly. It's about disidentifying from the parts of you that are transient and recognizing the part that has always been watching. The ego thrives on separation, on the belief that I am over here and the world is over there. I am this body, this story, this role, this person. But awareness sees no such boundaries. It doesn't define, it doesn't label, it simply is. And when you begin to rest in that awareness, the ego starts to dissolve, not through effort, but through lack of attention. You stop feeding it, you stop reinforcing its patterns, and something beautiful begins to happen. You find peace, not because your life becomes perfect, but because you've stopped demanding that it be anything other than what it is. There is a deep, abiding freedom in recognizing that you are not your thoughts. You are not your emotional reactivity. You are not your image. You are not the voice in your head, nor the one it's pretending to talk to. You are the awareness behind all of it. And in this awareness, there is nothing missing. There's nothing to chase, nothing to prove, nothing to protect. There is only presence. But this recognition isn't meant to stay as a lofty idea or spiritual concept. It's something to be lived, to be integrated. Not just when you're meditating on a cushion, but while walking down the street, talking with a friend, dealing with challenges. At any moment you can remember, I am not my thoughts. I am the one who sees them. And that remembering changes everything. This shift doesn't mean you become passive or disconnected. Quite the opposite. When you are rooted in awareness, you respond to life with greater clarity, compassion, and strength. You stop reacting from old wounds and start engaging from presence. You become less controlled by fear, more open to possibility. Decisions come from wisdom, not panic. Relationships become deeper, more honest. You begin to live with intention, not out of habit. And perhaps most importantly, you become less afraid of silence. Because silence is no longer empty, it's full of awareness, full of aliveness. You begin to crave that stillness, not as an escape, but as a homecoming. A place where you remember who you are before thought, before identity, before ego. You begin to trust life, not because it always goes your way, but because you've discovered something unshakable within you, something no situation can threaten. Of course, the mind will continue to arise. That's its nature, and that's okay. You don't need to fight it. You just need to stop confusing it with who you are. Every time you return to awareness, even for a moment, you reinforce a new way of being. One that is grounded, open, alive. And this is only the beginning, because the deeper you go into awareness, the more layers of illusion fall away. Old fears, false identities, outdated beliefs, they begin to dissolve in the light of pure presence. And what's left is not emptiness, it's fullness, wholeness, the essence of being itself. So let this not just be a concept you nod your head at. Let it be a daily invitation to watch, to witness, to return, over and over again, until awareness is not something you access occasionally, but something you are, something you live from. Not an escape from the world, but fully in it, with both feet on the ground and your heart wide open. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering what you've always been, and that is the beginning of everything. What did you think about today's video? Feel free to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If this video opened your mind or helped you see reality in a new light, don't forget to like and subscribe to Top Hidden Knowledge so you never miss our next deep dive into mystery, perception, and the hidden workings of our universe. And if you have time, explore more videos on our channel. We're just getting started. Until next time, stay curious, stay aware, and never stop questioning the world around you.